Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to our Everything You Want to Know About Film Funding class. I am Nahid Ismail, board member of From the Heart Productions and moderator of this event. We thank you all for joining us. Today we have Tom Malloy, producer, writer, director, and actor as our guest. Tom teaches the Intentional Filmmaking class with Carol Dean, president of From the Heart Productions. Tom, like Carol, is a brilliant teacher and they make a great team. Carol has a list of questions to ask Tom, and this class is for you. We want to hear from you, so please ask questions. You can put your questions in the chat bar. I will ask as many as possible for you. Before we close, Carol Dean will share information from Napoleon Hill's brilliant book, Think and Grow Rich, about the mastermind meetings that she highly recommends you have for you and your team. In this information, there will be 3 famous film quotes. There will be the last lines of classic Hollywood films. Please listen for these quotes and put them in the chat bar immediately. We will give the winners Carol's 3-hour How to Fund Your Film class as a gift. Plus, we are giving all of you a special discount for the upcoming fall intentional filmmaking class that Tom and Carol teach, where you have 3 personal consults with both Carol and Tom. I'd like to now introduce to you Carol Dean. In addition to being the president of From the Heart Productions, she is the creator of the Roy Dean Film Grants, which is now celebrating its 30th year. She's also the author of The Art of Film Funding, 2nd edition, Alternative Financing Concepts. Good morning, Carol, and welcome.
Thank you, Nahid. So we're so fortunate to have Tom Malloy with us today because, as you know, Tom has funded a lot of films, and he started in the film business as an actor. And like many of you, he wrote a great script with a part for himself, and then he realized that he had to produce it. So now he's produced over 18 films, and he's moved into directing. And I love teaching intentional filmmaking with him. We have 8 classes over 4 months, and we start with each person creating their goals and writing out a to-do list to achieve it. And in our classes, the first thing that Tom teaches is how to network, because that's one of your most important things that you need to do. As after all, this is the business of film, and believe me, it's a major key to your personal success, who you know and who your contacts are. So we want to know how Tom developed his list of contacts. And I'll start with questions about networking and staying in contact with people. That's really important for all of us to remember. And it creates lasting relationships that lead to film funding and much, much more. Now, Tom is also the owner of Glass House Distribution. So we want to know how to present films to distributors. And in our intentional filmmaking class, Tom always recommends that filmmakers attend events to meet people and to learn the film industry. So AFM is the next market, the American film market. The next important event in LA in November. So I want to know from Tom why we should go and how to make the most out of the AFM. So that's our class today. Now feel free, please, to ask questions, because this is how you learn. And you expand your database today. You've got to learn how to fund your film and expand your database. So Nahid, please introduce Tom.
Thank you, Carol. Tom is a triple hyphenate: actor, writer, producer, and director. He's raised over $26 million in private equity for films. He has produced 18 films, just finished his 18th in Scotland. In 2020, he was one of the executive producers of Langsy, starring Harvey Keitel and Sam Worthington. His producing partners on the movie produced The Hurt Locker and Dallas Buyers Club. He's written over 30 screenplays and optioned, sold, or made into movies 24 of those screenplays. and he's starred in a bunch of movies, including Love and Dancing and The Alphabet Killer. He's also the president and co-owner of Glasshouse Distribution, a sales and distribution company that now represents over 100 films in their catalog, recently opening a TV division. He co-owns Filmmaking Stuff, one of the most popular film blogs online, and his book, Bankroll, was the gold standard book on film financing. Tom, thank you for joining us today. Welcome.
Yes, thanks for the great introduction. I appreciate it.
So Tom, let's get started with your knowledge of distribution through your company, Glasshouse Distribution, and tell us how you like people to approach you for distribution. So, for example, do you want a verbal pitch in a trailer or a verbal pitch in a deck? What do you like?
Well, when you're talking about that, I mean, when you're talking about adding a sales agent or distribution to your film, there's really, it could be at any stage. You know, it could be at the script stage, it could be at the pitch stage, it could be at the finish stage. So and I know you mentioned the AFM coming up, and I know we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but the person you're looking for, I mean, in my company and everybody else's company, is the acquisitions person, the head of acquisitions, or somebody in acquisitions. You know, maybe they have a gigantic company and there's 3-4 people in acquisitions, but the acquisitions person, their job is to watch your film. So that's who you're going to talk to. That's the person you're going to talk. In my company, it's David Josh Lawrence, who's fantastic and super energetic, like me. And but there's, again, in every company, they're going to have an acquisitions person. And that's usually for when your film is it's going, or it's going to be finished, and so that you have something to show. Now, if it's earlier on, we're opening up a whole other can of worms. You're maybe looking for an acquisitions person, but you may also be looking for a development person, a development executive within that company. And sometimes some people will do both of those roles. But again, either way, ultimately, it's going to lead to acquisitions.
Well, wait a minute. What does that mean, a development person? In other words, can you get someone in your company to come on board and help with post and questions about the film?
Yes, and it doesn't even need to be post. I mean, like, look, you could, bottom line is you can get people to come on, sales agents to come on early on in a film. I mean, if we are super excited about a film, we get there early on. We'll advise on cast. We'll advise on locations where you could shoot and all that stuff. So, I mean, that's when you have a sales agent from the beginning. Funny enough, again, I own Glasshouse, and we sell films, but I also produce films. And so the film I produced last year, we had XYZ Films, who's a huge sales agency, attached even from script stage. So it was just through my connections and relationships there. So we were like running cast by them. How's this person sell? How's this, so it's like we were running stuff by, if there was a person that I didn't know, like, hey, what do you think about this? Or we had a decision to make on. So getting them attached from the beginning can just truly line it all the way up for success the whole way through. Now, it's tough without a great relationship, but you can make those relationships. So,
well, yes, we want to talk about how to do that. But let me ask you, when you say you have to have a really great script to get people attached, is that what you did with with XYZ? You took them a fantastic script?
Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, ultimately, that was my movie, Ask Me to Dance, which we just sold, and we don't have an official release date, but it could be the end of the year. And that was my directorial debut. So I had, Naheed mentioned it was triple hyphenated, so I added quadruple to it. After 18 films, I finally produced a movie. I mean, I finally directed a movie.
Right.
But yeah, so that film, I had pitched them, again, it's so many times it's your verbal pitch and then the screenplay backing it up when you're talking about a non-documentary type project. And so I had the relationship with the CEO of the company. And so it was a verbal pitch. And oops, I for a second I thought I got disconnected. I got spotlit, so that's good. It was a verbal pitch, and then the script has to back it up. Ultimately, that's it's going to come down to it. They're not going to be like, well, the script needs work. It's either going to work or it doesn't work. So,
right. So the script really has to be dynamite. I've heard you say there's no such thing as a good script because it won't make a good film.
Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately, I talk a lot about, I call it killer script, that where it's a script where people are like, oh, we gotta, be involved. I recently just read one like that, and I'm like, I do anything to be involved with that, because they're almost so few and far between. It's people, I think, a lot of times send out their first drafts, which is not really their first draft. And again, I could go into that for another hour just on that alone, but they're just so excited to have finished the script, and they haven't got coverage, they haven't got readers to check it out, any feedback on it, and so that's a mistake, and that could stop the deal right there. On the flip side, they're so rare. Again, if I always say, if I've read maybe 600 scripts, 580 of them were not killer scripts. The 20 that were, I went nuts for and tried anything to try to make them. And so that's what happens when you can be in that category of having a great script. Things happen very quickly.
Right. Well, let me ask you this: getting coverage, to me, is one of the most important things you need to do.
Yeah.
Because of course your friends and family are all going to say, oh, it's wonderful, but that's not what you want to hear. Did you develop your characters well? Do you have enough conflict? Whatever else there is, you should do that first, don't you think, Tom?
Without question, it's like you can't. What you were talking about there is cheerleading. Yeah, you get the family and friends that are, they're just so happy you did something that they'll offer you maybe even one little thing like, well, I didn't really understand the ending, but yeah, it was great. It was a really great movie, great script, and that doesn't help you in any way, shape, or form. You have to go in with the mindset that writing is rewriting, and even the best writers in the world are going to have their stuff taken apart and critiqued, and they're going to rewrite. So if you think about that going into it, then you're going to have no problem getting a coverage report and making changes from the script based on that.
Well, do you ever send a coverage report with your script to people? If it came back with glowing report, I think I would.
I think it's a good move for maybe a newer writer. I think it's a good move. I was thinking about it. I had done that way back, like, when I maybe Alphabet Killer, which was like 2005. Now I think I've established myself enough in WGA for almost 20 years now, that I don't need to necessarily do that. And the people that I'm reaching out to are relationships, right? So I've probably pitched already, and so I don't need to do that. But I would say if you're doing it maybe even cold, then that might be good. Yeah, if I saw something that had this incredible coverage report on it, I'd be like, well, at least it warrants me checking it out. So yeah, I think it's a good move.
Okay, so how did you get so knowledgeable about script writing while you're acting, producing, and doing all these other things? I mean, what did you do? Some tips can you give us on how you became so proficient at it?
Sure. I mean, well, besides the fact that I have nonstop energy, as you very well know, and I'm always I have to stay busy or I freak out. Screenwriting started for me by reading scripts. If you don't read scripts, and you think you could write a movie just because you watched movies, that would be going to a car mechanic and just watching them do it and go, I can fix a car now, let me go fix the whole car. You know what I mean? Like, that's nuts. That you have to have training, so you have to see how it's done. So that was what I started. I read maybe like 50 of the greatest screenplays of all time, Dr. Strangelove, Network, and going and reading all these, and that set my bar very high. Then it was a matter of reading materials like Sid Field's book Screenplay, which was an oldie but goodie. And I mean, I even have a video series now that I've made, but that's more on setting yourself up for success and how to sell your screenplay. But bottom line is that learning and then doing, if I tell you 25 of my screenplays have sold, and those are meaning optioned, sold, or made into movies, I would say 3 or 4 of those are the first ones that I wrote, and it was like, those were kind of experiments and getting better each time. So, but I'll just say this, even still to this day, 30 screenplays, 30 plus that I've written, again, that's the differentiation. I've written 30 plus, let's say whatever, 32. I have to go, and I did have a list at some point, and 25 sold. The delta there is what I was talking about, is those are the ones that are unsold were the first original ones. But even still to this day, if I'm going to write something and it's something I haven't done before, I'm trying to think of something like a sports film, let's say like a football film. I would try to find screenplays, and you can go to the Internet Movie Screenplay Database, which is like IMSDB, and download screenplays of great football or baseball or sports movies, and just go, how did they lay it out? How did they do their action sequences? How did they talk about, the inning in baseball or whatever? So even to this day, I'm not done learning. And I think anybody should have that same mindset. If you're going to write a baseball movie, and just because you have a cool baseball story in your head, that's crazy. Go read Major League. Go read Field of Dreams. Go read some of those screenplays and know that those were successes. How can you model the right things and the right aspects of those screenplays and apply them to your screenplay?
That sounds very smart. Okay. Well, what about documentaries? Do you think they need a script when you try to sell them to a distributor? Should you have a script?
No, I think that with documentaries, you need something. I mean, it all boils down with the documentary, with the pitch. It's, if you can pitch me your documentary and the same aspects that you would be pitching a film, excitement and energy and all that stuff, and I went, wow, that's an amazing idea. Then you're going down the right path, and you should be, as a documentarian, pitching that around and seeing what the people's reactions are. If people are like, well, I kind of knew that already existed, it's like, that's different, but, and I mean, that's just for trying to pitch when you're looking for an outside source or something like that. You might have a cool sizzle reel about it, or some IP to show, hey, look at this magazine article of the person I'm doing the thing on, or something like that, some type of presentation materials that'll make it exciting. I mean, because some of the best documentaries in the world have been like strange topics. I can think of The King of Kong, which is truly one of my favorite all-time documentaries, which was about the Donkey Kong World Championships. And somebody might listen to that and go, what do I care about that? But it's amazing. Like, if I told you the film was about, almost like a good versus evil, and they have this villain that's the world champion, and he is really, I mean, you couldn't have written him, like, if you wrote him this movie, they would think you overdid it a little bit, so any of those things, any type of topic or whatever can be a compelling documentary. But if I was the one pitching that and it was kind of a weird thing, I would pitch all those exciting dramatic elements and maybe show a little video of it, like something that I had, or some type of article that I could present, just some type of presentation materials that add to that documentary pitch.
With passion, with lots of passion and
Always.
Yeah. Okay, good. So the majority of people, though, come to you with beyond the script. They look at distribution when they're finished or almost finished, right? So when they come to you with a pitch and a trailer, or what?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, I'm at the point where the company's grown enough. I started it in 2015, and the company's grown enough that now, so I don't take the pitches unless they're friends or something like that, and it is David that reviews everything. And so he looks, usually it's a trailer, and if the trailer looks good, he'll ask for the screener. Some people send the trailer and screener first, but it's probably not the best practice to do that, if you're just blanket sending your movie everywhere. But, send the trailer first, see how they respond, and then go from there. But, I mean, I get emails all the time about scripts, but it's very tough to just start a script from scratch with no value. I'm always talking about, in our class that we teach, how to add value. I mean, that's one of our main things, is that if you just keep adding value, then sooner or later the investment becomes a no-brainer, right? And so if you're adding, if you're coming to me and you just got a story, what's the value? You know what I mean? But in any case of a film itself, if you have financing, or you have actor A attached, or you have this location where you can shoot, or the documentary, you have access to this famous person that, has this incredible story, that's value that you're adding to there, and it makes just the project itself more valuable.
Right, exactly. And so the whole thing is, a lot of decisions are based around the cast. So what do you recommend producers do to get the cast they want? How's it? I mean, the most important thing is to recognize that without saleable names that distributors would want, they're not going to sell their film, right? Or quickly.
It's tougher and tougher these days. You know, there's a couple exceptions with a family film, you know, a family drama, completely vanilla, or a family comedy, or maybe a really cool horror movie or an action film. You can get away with the no cast, but other than that, it would look at. I'd say if you said that, I would say, well, why don't you just make them with cast anyway? And look, you might be on here going, well, I don't have the money to get cast. I 100% disagree. I once made a $75,000 movie, and we had sellable names in that movie. So it's always completely doable if the script is great, you have potentially the right connections, and you just keep searching and find the actors that want to do really great projects. But, you know, again, I've heard it all the time, and I've always said, if one time, see it, go to AFM or go to Cannes or go to Berlin and see these films selling, and you'll go, okay, I get it now. This is why I got to put cast in this movie, because you'll see the way the marketplace is very much cut and dry. But I've heard producers and directors be like, well, I just want the best person for the role. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard that. And I say, okay, great. How about the best person that's also a sellable name, right? Because unless they're one of these people that is famous for being famous, like, I don't know, Kim Kardashian or something like that, you know, they probably got to where they were by having talent to begin with, right? So go for those people. It's a completely different story. And for you as a filmmaker, and this could be a documentarians with the narrator or celebrity interviews in there, it just puts you on a different level, perception-wise. And I mean to all your family and friends, and also the sales and distribution world. If you're doing a movie, if I'm saying I got this movie A, and it's this, you know, dramatic movie, and it's got these great actors, blah, 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 versus B, this dramatic movie, great plot, blah, blah, blah. It also has Angelina Jolie. I mean, I'm choosing a big name there. It has just popped in my head, but also has her. Of course, anybody's going to go to the second movie. That's the one that's going to sell, you know? And so it just, and also if the filmmakers, you'd go, oh, that person's a real filmmaker, right? It's the way the perception is. So I just say, why not always shoot for the stars no matter what? Because it's only going to help you in every aspect.
Okay, well, what about people who are not well known, but they have a huge internet following?
And, you know, that's the new kind of thing, the new trend in a lot of ways, because that adds certain amounts of value, right? If actor A and actor B are equal on everything, standing, movie credits, ability, all that stuff, but one actor A has 10 million Instagram followers, actor B does not have, they're going to pick the one that has that social media. The only thing I would caution against is going after people just because they have social media following. They may not be an actor, right? Like, you got to make sure that they know what they're doing. Just because they have 20 million followers doesn't mean that they have any type of talent. So you always have to factor that in as well, you know. So that's where you really have to. I mean, sometimes you get lucky and you have both. And that's where the rule. I used to say the rule of thumb for a famous person is are they going to bring value? Is, do you have to explain the name? If I said I got a movie, I got Jack Black, I don't have to explain that to anybody on here. Maybe somebody, you know, but most of you are going to know who that is. If I say I got, you know, Bob Jones, and you go, who is that? And I go, well, on the new season of The Boys, he's this guy. Oh, okay, well, or maybe you haven't seen it or something like that. You've already maybe lost the sales, but there's exceptions to that as well. I was pitched a movie with KJ Appa, who was Archie on the TV show Riverdale, which is about Archie. I had no idea who he was, but he had 20 million Instagram followers. And immediately I was able to get a commitment of financing for Voltage, is one of the best because of that kid's attachment. So, look for social media following, and it helps, but don't only look at that.
Right. Nahid, do you have any questions for Tom?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of good questions, and some of them you have actually answered on the question for the documentary, if you need to have a script. But I'll start with Elise Durant. And she's asking, what is the difference between a sales agent and a distributor?
Good. Yeah, that's a good question. Well, and the reason it's a good question is also, like, my company, Glass House Distribution, we do both. And a lot of companies these days do both. A sales agent is just selling, right? And at one point, we thought about only being a sales agent, just international sales, or even U.S. sales. Like, meaning we take your film, we use and leverage all our relationships with international buyers and domestic buyers and just sell to get buyouts for the territories, right? A distributor will directly distribute. So now Glass House distributes directly in the US, and that's only about a year old. We had to get all the relationships first directly. Prior to that, we did resell. We try to sell, and we'll still try to take your film and sell, get a buyout from Netflix or Showtime or HBO or something like that first. But failing that, now we can go direct to Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, Vudu. I could go on the list forever of the platforms, the VOD platforms that we would get it out to. So a distributor is the person that's putting them directly on those platforms. So a sales agent wouldn't be able to, if they're just a sales agent, they wouldn't be able to just distribute it and put it on those platforms. Internationally, most of the time it's sales, no matter what. Almost everybody does not distribute directly internationally.
Okay. Loren Ruiz has also another very good question, Tom.
Sure.
The question is, what are some qualities that the killer scripts share?
Well, that's a tough one. It's like, I would say, one thing. All right. So one thing that I'm known for with scripts is they're fast. They move fast, right? If the qualities that, God, that is a tough question, because I can't say what's going to work in the script. It's just a compelling story that works. If you want, but truly, if you want to see what works, pick a movie. Pick a movie that won Best Picture, and in your genre. Because almost every genre now is won Best Picture. Maybe I think a horror movie is the only one that won at one time, which was Silence of the Lambs. But everything else, comedies have won, dramatic films have won. And so you look at that and go, what worked about it? Or some movie that you just really loved that was successful. Check it out and go, all right, what works about this script?
Okay.
I just saw, Tom, the Johnny Guitar, that old film. They restored it, and it was just released on Criterion. Yeah. And I sat down with my teapot. I was going to give it 5 minutes to steep, and the next thing I knew, 20 minutes was gone, and I hadn't taken a breath. It was so compelling, and it was written and edited so well. And the photography and the colors, outstanding. So, I guess it is a matter of looking at really great films to see how they write and cut and edit so that you're just attached, you're involved.
All of it, yes, yeah. What works for you, and then emulate that. Yeah.
Yes. And I recommend Scorsese's list of 85 films all filmmakers should see, because that is fantastic.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with that list, but I'll have to check that out. That's great.
Oh, you'll love it, Tom. You'll love it.
I'm sure.
Okay.
Here's another one from Ivy Vale. This is a good one too. How do you find a sales agent who's willing to look at unsolicited material?
Unsolicited as far as screenplays go or films go? Because at films, that's fine. That again, you're looking for the acquisitions person. That's what their job is. That's just look at material. Like, you don't need to submit it by an agent. If you're talking about a screenplay, again, I would still focus on the relationships. You're going to walk around AFM, and there's going to be people that'll go, "Now we're not looking for anything." It's okay. Just go to the next one. There's hundreds of companies there, but I just saw on the chat, I'm way at the bottom, so I missed a ton of email or posts, but it said, yes, a film and post. Yeah, so you go find those acquisitions people. Now, the one thing you go, oh, maybe I can't go to AFM. I'm going to put a website here. It's this one, Sonando, and Sonando is where you can find the list of all the sales agents. That's what we all use. You'll find their direct emails of the people that are acquiring films.
Okay. There's a question here from Carrie French to everyone. Who can you rely on to look over your rough draft script before pitching the final draft to potential distributors? Anyone you recommend?
Well, it's like, I can't just be like, yeah, you go to Jim. I know people that do coverage, and if you want, you'll put the email at the end. You could reach out to me, and I'll give you a couple people that I know that do script coverage. And I mean, I know Greg Paul is a friend that does this. You can also, there's a couple other ways to do it. There's a site. I can't specifically recommend any site. I mean, I just know that there's some that do coverage sites. So check them out. Again, I can't recommend anybody specifically, but also in the past, I've been successful putting ads in Craigslist, but only Los Angeles Craigslist. You can't do it in Cleveland, and expect to get script coverage people. But if you put it in Los Angeles, you could put an ad like looking for script coverage. You'll get some people and read about them and have them pitch you on them doing coverage. And I say sometimes the best way is to get 2 or 3 reports so that you can look for trends. If all 3 are said the dialogue's weak, your dialogue's most likely weak, But what if it costs you $100 a pop to get the coverage? I'm just guessing off the top of my head. $300. Well, guess what the WGA minimum is now for an original screenplay? I haven't checked in a while, but I believe it's $75,000. So that's the minimum you could pay me. If you want minimum, you could pay me if you wanted my original screenplay. So that's an investment in yourself, really.
Okay, and then here's one from Stephanie. When sharing a screener with a distributor, do we need them to sign anything to protect our intellectual property, etc.?
No, I mean, I'd say just put a password protection on there, and then in Vimeo, we all use Vimeo, and just make sure allow downloads is unchecked. But still, if you mess that up and you send one of the downloads, if they're a reputable distributor, like I think about it from my company, like why in God's name would I risk losing the entire company to steal a movie? You know what I mean? But that doesn't make any sense. So I think any reputable company, it's so easy to trace these days. I mean, like somebody's going to steal your movie, put it up. It's like, well, they can do IP traces and all that, but any reputable company's not going to do it. But I wouldn't just put the link publicly on your website, like here's the link, download my movie, and that's a mistake. But if you're reaching out to people, you don't need to protect yourself. Like, I mean, again, what are you afraid of? That they're going to make a similar movie or something like that? How hard it is to make a movie, like take 2 years of them, and it doesn't make any sense. So yeah.
Okay. And Tyler has a question here. And Tyler, please feel free to jump in. I'll unmute you. But the question is asking it related to the pandemic, Tom, with COVID, considering the COVID that waylaid so many movies that were completed. How does one at this point push our feature doc through to distribution? We're getting E&O insurance to be prepared, but then what? And Tyler, I'm unmuting you.
Well, I thought I had an answer there, but then the last part changed it. So you're talking about from an E&O perspective because you haven't shot it yet, or are you talking about it from a perspective that there's too many movies in the queue? What I don't understand.
Yeah, Tyler.
Okay, so can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So what I'm saying is we got waylaid. Our film was done. We put it in festivals anyway. We couldn't attend. It was a mess. At this point, it's done, and because it was done in 2020, I'm asking about the age of the film. Does that count? Does that matter if it's finished and completed 2020? That we're finding distribution in 2022. That's
well, okay, good question. Okay, so I would say, look, the unfortunate answer is yes, it does matter, but there's a little bit of an asterisk there. You could say it was held up. But by the way, if you notice, like you can go to my IMDb, right? I shot Ask Me to Dance, my movie, in 2021. Like in the midst, it's still in the pandemic. We still do the COVID testing and all that stuff. It's not 2022. There's still no date on the movie. I don't put dates on my movies until we know when the release date is. So if I had put 2021, I'm excited. I'm going to put an IMDb link, put 2021 on there. The movie, if Electric doesn't release until next year, then it's going to say 2023 is going to be 2 years old. Okay, that's a problem. So I don't put dates on my movies. Now you have a date on yours. Okay, you have to tell people that when you're going on the markets, be like, well, yeah. I mean, obviously it hasn't been released yet. We got held up through the pandemic, and I think people are a little bit more understanding of that. But I mean, gosh, we're getting to super specifics here. It does matter. I mean, like we've had movies, we've had buyers, especially Asian buyers, will come in, and I'll pitch the movie verbally, and they'll look it up there. And they'll be like, it's 2019, we can't take it. And it's like, oh, okay, so that's your cutoff, And so a movie can get old, and internationally people don't want it. So I think you still have time. I would just make sure it's this year, because once you get to 2023, now you're even more older. So yeah.
Okay. And then this is a question asked by a few people. Leandra is asking it, if a filmmaker is unable to secure traditional distribution, should a filmmaker self-distribute or use Film Hub for self-distribution?
Well, okay, I'm not anti Film Hub specifically. I think it's a place where you can go on and it pushes it out to platforms.
Yes.
You know, and so I met the French guy. I think I can't remember his name, but anyway, or at least a French name. But bottom line is, when you're talking about self-distribution had its kind of heyday, and that was around 2016, 2017, and this is when at that time, Amazon paid a lot different back then. They realized they were paying out too much, and they changed it. And there's nothing anybody else could do. But you could do Amazon, iTunes, and blah, 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 and there was companies, Distributor and Premier Digital and different ones like that. I think Film Hub is usually the only one that's still around. But do I recommend it? No, not at all, because a distributor is going to know how to market your film, how to place it in the right way. They're going to give you advice on the artwork and the trailer. They'll maybe do the artwork, do the trailer, put it out. Plus, they could add potentially foreign sales to it. But there's not much money in it. And the ones that there are money in, like the platforms like Tubi, you can have a direct relationship. Like, only we have a direct relationship with Tubi, but that's a business to business. They won't, you can't directly put up. So think about it. I mean, from an Amazon perspective, who pays almost nothing, but let's just say you put it up on Vimeo on demand because you go, I got a fan base, I got 1,000 friends. Okay. And each of them pay $5, to watch your movie. You made $5,000 on your movie. Does that move the needle for anybody? Is anybody making a movie for under $5,000? So you'd have to have the insane. And that's if every single one of your 1,000 friends bought it, which is never going to happen. So it just doesn't make any sense, I guess, in the long run to self-distribute anymore, unless you get shot down by everybody else, or you have some kind of unique thing. I don't want to kill anybody's hopes of self-distribution, but you're never going to be able to get foreign sales that way. So, yeah.
Okay. Here's another one from Andrea. When a film festival streams your documentary, does this hurt your chances to get distribution?
No. There's a whole film festival thing, and, there's a hierarchy of film festivals, and there's 10 or 12, 15 big ones, right? If you premiere there, you will be, and that meaning you have to premiere at those. You can't go to a lesser festival and then think you're going to get into Sundance or something. It's never going to happen. They want, those 15 or so want the world premiere, right? Then you can do as many as you want after that. But if you can get into one of those festivals, no guarantee, but it's pedigree, right? We've had movies come to us that was South by Southwest award winners, CineQuest award winners, Sundance movies. And so those movies that came to us, with those, immediately we took a look at them, right? If you told me your documentary is in Sundance, it's like, yeah, we're watching that documentary no matter what, and we're putting it in front of the queue. So a festival can only help that if there is, if it's a prestigious festival, it really helps. The other ones, I've seen it where, some people, I can think of one guy's movie about Alzheimer's that had like 80 laurels on it, and it's like, that helps. Laurels meaning the official selection or award winning for the festival. It was a brilliant movie. So it's like, that helps people. If you show me artwork and there's all these laurels all over, and I'm like, well, obviously somebody likes that movie, and so the fact that the festivals have a selection criteria also gives it a leg up. So.
Okay. And then Peggy Hannah has a question here. What percentage of a sellable cast belong to WGA? Union scale is prohibitive for my film.
Mm-hmm. Well, different. WGA is the Writers Guild, so I believe we're talking about SAG-AFTRA, which used to be just SAG. So we're not talking about WGA. We're talking about SAG. We'll say SAG instead of SAG-AFTRA, but it's not really cost prohibitive. If you think about it, like there's independent rates that you could do. You could do SAG. There was a what was it called? New Media, and they've replaced it now. But check out, I believe SAG Indie. I have to double check. That was a resource where you could kind of compare and contrast some of the different Screen Actors Guild contracts, but it's not prohibitive. I've never made a film non-SAG, and again, I've done them as low as I did. At one time, I did $75,000 movie. So there it is, SAG ultra low budget. They renamed it, but actually, ULB's been around for a while. So again, you have to keep track. I haven't done it because I'm doing kind of more higher level financing and selling at this point. But again, you could talk to one of your line producers or whatever. We'll talk to the SAG rep, but it's completely doable, and that should not be in any way, shape, or form the reason that you don't work with union actors. So it's doable. That's all I can say. It's not prohibitive, like where you go, well, I've added SAG, now I got to pay $1 million more. Not true.
Okay, and a follow-up. Joyce is asking, are there platforms now distributing short films that can be pretty lucrative for beginning filmmakers that have award-winning short films?
It's tough. It's tough to make money from a short, is all I'll say. And I always say you don't want to make a short with the goal of like, I want to make this to make money. That's not a thing. It's like, you could do it as a calling card. You could do it as a proof of concept for your screenplay. You could do it as a proof of concept for you as a filmmaker. But as far as platforms go, I mean, look, I know there's companies like Hughes, HEWES, that do short films, but even still, you're not going to make bank on those things. So, look around, check out Sonando, which I placed in the chat before, and see who looks at shorts. And the reason I'm kind of in the dark is that we don't do that. We don't deal with the shorts specifically. So, and most of the places don't, the bigger ones, Tubi and Amazon, all they don't take them. So.
Okay. Here's another one, a good one. A lot of good questions, Tom, today from Abigail. She's asking, do you have recommendations in how to make a first impression on people you form relationships with, distributors, sales agent, whether it's communicating your story well or things on the personal level you feel are important? What gets that first impression?
It's funny, there's so many nuances there. I just finished a new module for my filmmaking stuff site called Maximize the Meeting. It hasn't even been released yet, and it's about exactly this. But as far as tips for the webinar today, gosh, and by the way, we do these tips in Carol, the class, that the intentional filmmaking class, we do all kinds of stuff as far as networking. As she said, we talk about that and how to kind of get in and get out, because a lot of times I'll have come back from a market and I just observed other people kind of messing it up, so to speak. But the tips that I can give right now is to be concise. Do not drone on. Gosh, can you do your pitch in 2 minutes? Can you do that elevator pitch? I'll ask people. We have a pitching class, Carol and I teach, and I'll say, all right, give me the 2-minute pitch. I'm not kidding. Sometimes 15 minutes later, they're still pitching us. It's like, oh my God, like, you don't have this time, you know what I mean? And it's not even fair to everybody else. So you get in, get to your objective, get out. And I'll tell you this, and I'll stick to this to the day I die. Whatever success I have, the success is because of the follow-up. You were talking about the follow-up in the beginning, and I pulled this little stack of cards right here. Now, people don't even use cards as much anymore, but this is just my stack of cards from the Cannes Film Festival that was in May, and I put them into different groups with rubber bands here. Every single one of these I followed up with within a week, right? So I could just say, hey, listen, I got this comedy. It is laugh out loud funny. It's about a guy in an office. I'm just spitballing, right now. But it's about a guy in an office. I would love to send it to you. Can I let me get your card. I'll send it to you. I'll write you an email, more details. Like, even that's an okay thing to do, because it's boom. And now it's about the follow-up game versus getting a successful pitch. Again, I've done the ones where it's a successful pitch, but it's still, you have to take the action afterwards. It's much more important versus I've been in situations where there's a bunch of different people pitching. They all want this person to read their script, and they all got viable things, but I'm the only one that follows up, and I'm the one that gets the action.
Okay. Here's another good one from Stefan. What film genre is the most popular or most budget friendly according to AFM?
Well, those are two different things, as far as popular and budget friendly, you know what I mean? Like that could,
yes.
It's almost like the opposite side, you know what I mean?
Opposites.
Because it's like the bigger budgets are going to be super popular and sell the most. I did a video that's going to be on YouTube soon about 3 most sellable genres. And I'll say this is every single buyer that we ask, and we ask every single buyer this, what genres are you looking for? And the only time we won't ask it is if we know what genres they like. But we'll say, what genres are you looking for? And the first word that comes out of their mouth is action. Always first word that comes out of their mouth, because it really does travel internationally. Then a lot of times they'll say horror, thriller. I would say almost thriller is maybe overtaking horror now, is because there's so many horrors. It's got to be, the horrors almost have to set it apart. And then the other thing I would say is family, where it's non-offensive vanilla. It can be a family comedy, family drama, just something that doesn't have drugs and sex and curse words and stuff like that, because they can play internationally very well, and domestically. When I say domestically, I mean US, Canada, very well. So those are the ones that I would highly recommend you focus on. But again, I don't want to limit you to this. You can take a drama with cast, and that could do very well also. I mean, I have, Carol mentioned I produced 18 films. I start number 19 August 1st, and concurrently number 20 is August 3rd. So I'm gonna go to, but one's in Nashville, or one's in Austin, the other's in Nashville. And that one's a drama. The first one's a drama. The second one's a horror movie. But then I have another drama that'll be number 21 that's shooting in September. So I'm doing 2 dramas, but they have cast in them. So I'm not saying you have to stay away from dramatic films. It's just get some cast.
Okay, we'll take a few more, and then Carol, I'll pass it back to you. A very good question from Bobby Irvine.
I'm waiting for you to say this is a bad question, but yeah, it's all right. Go ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
How important is it to have a trailer made? I was told that people in the industry don't care much about them. They are more interested in reading the script, failure to comply, and autobiography going to the big screen soon. So this is by Bobby Irvin, and I don't know how you want to approach this.
Okay.
I'll also unmute Bobby in case
No,
it's
okay. I can answer this. The bottom line is, when you have, you're talking about a trailer, almost like a pitch trailer then, because if you're talking about a trailer for a film, I just want to say that the guy that was on the outs now at AFM, somehow they did, I remember this, it was like 2018 or 2019. And again, I've gone 16 years straight to the AFM, and they told people, stay away from trailers. Distributors want to see scene selects from your movie. That is the dumbest advice I've ever heard, and it's 100% not true. Every distributor, every sales agent that I know wants to see trailer. Because think about it, that's what's selling your movie. Most of the time when you're talking about VOD, I'm going through iTunes or something, I'm looking at a thumbnail and I'm watching the trailer if I'm deciding about a movie. That's it. I'm not going to watch a scene. Are you nuts? That's ridiculous. So, but if you're talking about pre-movie, which it sounds like he was, and you're talking about like a sizzle reel or a conceptual trailer, that I could go on for a while about that. I would say I don't do it necessarily. If you have a great script, I sell on the script itself. That's what I'm pitching. I mean, the verbal pitch and then the script. The problem with a trailer, and I've seen this happen sometimes, because you can't get the stars in it and you can't get the production value. It'll just be a lesser version of what the movie is. I remember getting behind a guy, and we were trying to raise financing for a movie, and the director said, I have to shoot this trailer. And so we put together 10 grand for him to shoot the trailer, and it lost him the project. As soon as I saw the trailer, I'm like, this guy can't direct this movie. No way. That made me go, I'm not interested. So it could be a mistake sometimes to do that. Again, I could go on forever on this question, but the key is, if there's other trailers, people out there that can cut, we were pitching to try to acquire the rights for an anime over in Japan to make it a live action, and it was a high school based one, and I had an editor cut together scenes from other high school movies. So all right, the production value is going to look great. It's not the real footage, but it's just going to give you an example of that. So that could potentially work. But again, I'm not a pre-film being done. I'm not a fan of trailers. So
okay, on the question of trailer, how early should we do a trailer for a documentary?
I mean, as soon as you have the footage to be able to do it. And the other thing I'll say is that I always use trailer editors different from the editors. I've never had film editors, maybe one. No, because we ended up changing. I was thinking that we had it, but no. I've never used the people that edit the film to also cut the trailer. Trailer editing is its own beast. And I've always had different trailer editors that come in and know how to make that. And funny enough, I remember one time this trailer editor, I was such a fan of his trailers. I said, hey, listen, could you recut the first 15 minutes of this movie? I want to see if you can make it better. And it was horrible. I didn't like what he did with it. So it's almost like they're independent of each other. So use a trailer editor right away. And I have some people I could recommend if you need them, but you could find them and Carol, I know some as well. And the trailer editors know how to make that really pop, which is going to truly be your sellable tool.
Okay, and Tom will take one more question and then I'll pass it back to Carol. But I want to let everybody know that this event and class is being recorded. Everyone who registered will get a copy of the recording in the next 2 days. Last question, Tom, is from Katrina, and she's asking, is a pitch deck without a budget a no?
That depends on who you're pitching. Okay, so in my, if anybody on here is Movie Plan Pro, which is my business plan, and by the way, you get that's part of our class. We give you the actual business plan that I use, same one. In that there is a budget, right? But the key is there's a couple asterisks there. If it's a documentary, it's tough. To sometimes, like, meaning you don't know how long you're gonna be shooting and stuff like that. So you still have to have an idea of the budget and stuff like that. But if you're pitching to like a production company, or you're pitching anybody on here that might be pitching an unscripted series, you need to stay away from that budget, because let them tell you what they're talking about on there. An unscripted series, you don't know what Discovery Channel's budget is or whatever, how much they want to give, And you say you could do this movie or this series for $50,000 an episode, when they're thinking $500,000 an episode, they're going to look at you as like, oh, this is amateur, So in those regards, you keep the budget out. But I'd say, as far as a film, if we're just talking pure film, private equity raise, like cash to try to get your film going, yes, you have to know. I mean, and I'm not talking about this can open up something else, but I'm not talking about a detailed budget breakdown. At the most you're going to put is the top sheet in there. But what I'm getting at is you need to know the number that you're going to raise. That business plan has to say you're looking to raise $500,000, right? It has to be in there. So.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tom, for joining us today. I will pass it back to Carol. Before I do, I want to let everyone know all who have registered will get a recording of this class today. So Carol, back to you.
Okay, well, there's so much that I wanted to cover that we don't have enough time for. So let's, first of all, pitching. Let's just go to that for a minute, because in our class, and we have this one class where everybody pitches us, and I love it. But what happens is that people start pitching and they tell the story with the ups and the downs, and pretty soon you're lost. There's too many characters and all that stuff. And then Tom takes it and pitches it back to them. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's another film and it's saleable. So just give us a few tips on what is a good pitch.
Well, it's really, one is concise, right? It gets to the point. Two is that I always look for hooks in a pitch. Like, hooks are a main thing for me, is that I come in and I go, what's going to get somebody interested, like hook them in to what I'm talking about. So, if you're starting with, let's say documentary, and it's a documentary about dolphins or something like that. And you tell me, do you know every year 10 million dolphins are murdered? Something like that. I don't know what the statistics are, but something like that, like, boom, all right, you got my hook already, and there's an easy solution to fix this. Wow, all right, tell me more, right? So you have a hook to get the person in. But the other thing I say is you always have to have energy. You always have to have energy with that pitch, because it's never the time to play it cool, and be like, oh, I'm cool now. You need to geek out for your documentary, your film, or something like that. Because if you don't have energy and you're not excited about it, how do you expect the potential financier to be excited about it? So every pitch, I'm like freaking out for my movie and making it this event. And I still am always pitching. I just think of a high pressured pitch that I just had, where I had a clock because I had to go to another event, and I was pitching this Oscar-winning producer, and it's like, it's what I do. So you have to be able to get to the point, be concise, be energetic, get them hooked in, and that will lead to a successful pitch, hopefully.
Thank you. That's brilliant, Tom. Now, it's networking. That's one of your fortes, and you showed us the business cards. And so when people don't have a business card, how do you get a connection with them? What do you say?
Well, I mean, these days, a lot of people don't have the business cards. Some people are being green and stuff like that. By the way, side note, Nahida, they're asking about the business plan. I believe Carol has a special link for the Movie Plan Pro business plan, if you want to just throw that in the chat.
Okay, will do.
Yeah, I saw 2 or 3. It's going by me, but because I'm trying to do 2 things at once. I'm sorry, Carol. We're talking again about. Remind me, what was I answering? I'm sorry, I lost it.
We're talking about networking, but wait.
Oh, business cards. Yeah.
Let me say this. If you'll email me, Carol Joyce will put my personal email. Well, there it is on the screen.
Well, that's an online class about how to navigate these markets that we're talking about. Somebody was asking about just the business plan, which I think you also have a link to.
The link, which if they will email me personally, I'll give them the link to the business plan. I'll give them a link to, or give them the 3 or 4 names you have for not line producers, but reading your script.
Oh, coverage, people for coverage. Yeah.
And also, if you want to share the editors, I'll give them all that. So
okay, good. Yeah, so you can send it out to the whole list afterwards. So yeah, so anybody that asks, you will get it.
When we send out the recording, we'll send the links too.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. Now we're all set. So okay, so specifically to that question, I've got my phone right here. It's like, if somebody says to me, like, I say, hey, can I get your business card? And note, I've met so many people that are so all about giving business cards out, giving them out. It's almost like they're proud of their business card. Okay, that's great, but getting them is more important. If you give me your business card, it's like, who knows if if maybe I lost it, maybe I didn't get it around to you. Like, I'm just a random person, you know what I mean? Like, so say you random person you gave them. That doesn't guarantee that they're going to get back to you. Now, I do, but doesn't guarantee that somebody else is going to get back to you. So getting is more important. So if I go, hey, let me get your contact information, or let me get your business card, and if they respond, well, I don't have a business card, I'll immediately pull out my phone. Here, let me get it. Here, I'll just put it in my phone. I'll literally open up a screen, hand it to them, have them do it. You know what I mean? So right away, I'll get the contact information these days with the phone, and stuff like that. I don't think I've ever, knock on wood, had anybody say I'm not interested in giving it out. You know what I mean? Like, so I've never had that, but so yeah, because and the reason being, it's a common practice. It's a common practice at all these markets to network. Everybody understands it. Everybody knows that that's what they're there to, to get the connection. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about markets now, because what do you think is the main reason, or 2 reasons, to go to the American film market? How can filmmakers benefit?
Well, I mean, there's always a benefit in the markets. Even say if you go, oh, I don't have a finished movie, or my script's in development, it's okay. Any of those stages are fine. First off, there's panels that are amazing. I mean, like, I remember the first time I went to Real Screen, which is an unscripted series. And this was, I don't even know, maybe say 2015 or something like that. I'm only in movies at that point, so I wasn't in any of that space. So I was attending panels left and right, about how formats sell internationally and stuff like that. So you could I know a person that started their entire career by going to markets and going to panels and literally listening to people. And then she would go up and introduce herself to the person afterwards, get their business card, introduce themselves as a speaker, and follow up right there, afterwards. So from a panel perspective alone, it's value. But the other value is just being able to, let's talk about AFM specifically, because you put the AFM course in there, is that walk around, going into the offices, introducing yourself, giving your little pitch, taking the business card. Hey, can I get, even if they're not there at lunch right now, well, can I get the person's business card that does acquisitions? And boom, you got it, right? So that's what your goal is, to kind of walk around, meet people, network, go to panels as well, and you get the whole experience.
Great. Are there better days to go for the event?
Ooh, good question. That's a great question. Yes, that's 100% the case. So what is it this year? It's shorter. It's the 1st to the 6th in November. I would stay away from the first 3 to 4 days. And AFM, I don't even know if they do it anymore. They used to sell a back half pass. And the reason being is companies like myself are front loading our meetings with buyers. Like one AFM, we did 116 something buyer meetings. I would say out of those, 80% were in the first 3 days, right? So we're front loading the meetings of buyers, and that's our most important because that leads directly to money. At the end of the market, that's when it opens up a little bit more for filmmakers. So if you go on day 1, 2, 3, and you're going and you're trying to get into ArcLight, or Voltage or XYZ or something like that, they're going to be like, let's push it to day 5 or 6 if they're even into it at all. Like, so I would say stay away from the earlier days. But again, even on those earlier days, there's stuff going on. There's people you can meet. There's panels you can go to. So there's value of going the whole time. But as far as going in and walking into companies, it's probably going to be the back half of the market.
Back half sounds great. Well, the most important thing is that you have written a whole program or a whole class on how to get the most out of AFM, when to go, what to say, what to show them, etc. So we can't cover that, but we can mention your brilliant class. So I think that's in the chat box, right, Nahid? You have that?
Yes, it is. Yes, I have it there. But we'll send all the links to and the recording to everyone that registered.
Okay, because that's really what you have to have. You have to have a business plan, number one, and you have to know how to go to AFM to make the most money out of it. So what else can you share with our filmmakers today, Tom?
Well, I would say, look, here is the, when you're on, I mean, there's a lot of people on here, which is fantastic. And I love talking to people. I'm always honored to do these things. And I have that picture of John Cassavetes behind me, and who is my idol as far as indie filmmaking, and had that mentality of anybody who can make a film he already loves, right? I would say here is the key. Oh, and by the way, Jason Brubaker, side note, just also texted me the Movie Plan Pro affiliate, the link, that Carol's link for Movie Plan Pro. So you have that.
Good.
Yeah, so that's right in there in the chat. So, but you also, Nahid, will follow up with everything.
Yes, absolutely.
I love talking to people. I was getting it. Everybody's on here has even made the decision to come on here. What's amazing to me is when I've done webinars and say, when I looked, there was like 170 people on here, and we've done that, we did do the webinar and maybe 400 people signed up. So about half of them actually even took the opportunity to show up. So what I'm getting at here is taking action. When is it your year to take action? Is it who's joining our course where we've gone through and people have had success and made their movies? When is it the time to go, I'm not going to just watch Netflix tonight, even though there's great shows on HBO Max and stuff like that. I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to take action. And again, I bring up the numbers because, again, we get the same thing on the webinars on filmmaking stuff. About half of the people that sign up don't even show for the thing. So it's the people that are on here are already beat out half of the people. There's people that ignored the email, there's people that signed up, and then there's people that didn't show up. You're the ones that showed up. So you've already taken action. The key is, out of these 170 people, how many of them are going to go to the next step and now start taking action for their career? Whatever that is. It could be working with us. It could be going and filmmaking stuff. It could be doing anything. It could be writing, literally today. It's, you know what I mean? There's a lot more of the day left. Writing today, taking action steps. That's my thing that I just want to implore to all of you, is just try to find a path forward no matter what it is. Again, honored to talk to you all, but you got to take action. At the end of the day, I'd love to see you on the red carpet next to me in Cannes.
Right on, Tom. Thank you so much. Great show. Thank you for the information.
Sure.
Really?
And somebody just real quick asked, it's okay to go to AFM by yourself? Yes, 100%. That's what I did in my first early years. I was going by myself. So anyway, but thank you to all. And I'm seeing a ton of thanks going in, and I really appreciate it, and always love speaking with you, Carol, and doing the class with you for this so long. It's been great.
Thanks, Tom. Lots of good luck. Lots of
Okay,
great luck.
everybody.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay. All right, Nahid, I'm jumping off. All right,
All
take
right.
care, everybody.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, I just want to share with you the power of the mastermind from Napoleon Hill's magnificent book, Think and Grow Rich, because it's something that I think that could enhance your development. Okay. So Napoleon in his book says that power is essential for success in the accumulation of money. Plans are inert and useless. This is what Tom was saying, without sufficient power to translate them into action. Power may be defined as organized and intelligently directed knowledge. So power, as the term is used here, refers to organized effort, sufficient to enable an individual to transmute their desire into its monetary equivalent. Organized effort is produced through the coordination of effort of two or more people who work towards a definite end in a spirit of harmony. And believe me, you couldn't identify a film production crew any better than that. Even if someone says, well, nobody's perfect, but when the director and the producer and the cinematographer work together as one unit with one vision, they are the power of the mastermind. They are the driving force. So even if there are only two of you on the project right now, the two of you together create a mastermind. That's the driving force to riches. And Napoleon goes on to say that to better understand the potential power available to you through a properly chosen mastermind group, we want you to understand one of which is economic in nature and the other is spiritual, all right? Because Napoleon says that when two people are gathered together, the third person, third energy appears. You can call that the God force. You can call it the universal force, whatever you want to call it. That's how mastermind groups work. Two people get together and start talking and brainstorming, and the third energy appears, and you get ideas you never had before. This lateral thinking starts to happen, and good ideas and good direction come from that special third person. So think about the old movies that we used to see, because they always had screening rooms in them, usually, if they were about making movies. And in the screening room, it wasn't just the producer and the director, or maybe a star. It was a bunch of people, the people that work on the film. And they were there to give guidance and feedback, all right? That's what filmmaking is all about. And it is this mastermind that works. I know because I had a friend who flew to Washington every month to be on the president's mastermind group. He calls it his advisory group, and it is a bunch of men, mostly a few women, who have major corporations in the United States, or they have experience in the Far East, which this man had. He knew China very well and Taiwan, so they used him for that knowledge, plus his business knowledge. And they would throw out questions and get advice from these men. That's the president's mastermind class. And you know, if you go to the Think and Grow Rich book, Ford had it. Ford had a mastermind class. He had men that he worked with on a monthly basis where they shared ideas, and this great third party, the spirit, came in and gave them brilliant ideas. You know, he demanded that they give him 8 cylinders and 1 block, and they kept telling him for 3 years, this is impossible. He wouldn't take no, and he got it. Ford used this. Carnegie, who was the steel magnate, he created the steel industry in the United States. From the Hart Production gets grants from Carnegie's company. It's wonderful to know that his money 100 years later is still there operating and is funding filmmakers. These men became famous and very, very wealthy, and they attributed one of the great things that they attributed to their success was having a mastermind meeting on a monthly, weekly basis. So think about that for you. Even if you only have one other person on your crew, having a meeting where the two of you talk about the movement of the film, how to take it from here to the next step. Keep developing your film, but do it on a regular meeting. Think of Rhonda Byrne. She made the most money on that film, The Secret. She was a very smart woman. She used her knowledge of The Secret to make the film, all right? And she did quite well. She made a fortune on the film and she pitched it, and she had one of the greatest trailers I've ever seen. But Rhonda knew that she was onto something very special. She had a meeting every week with her crew. And in fact, they agreed, this is what they visualized, that their film would open everywhere at the same time, on the same day, at the same time. And there was, at this moment in time, when they were materializing this film, there was no way to upload a film on the internet. But while they were in production, that was invented. And the first film was uploaded, and they said, that's it. That's what we were waiting for. And that's exactly how they screened their film. That was from her mastermind class. So I just, you would consider this. And I thank you, like Tom did, I thank you very much for joining us. And we'll put together another everything class for you. I think we have to talk about trailers more. And we also need to talk about music and films, lots of things we want to cover. So any ideas you have, send to me. I'm totally open, because this really is, this class is for you, and to empower you and encourage you to take the next step, whatever that might be. So thank you all very much.
Carol,
Yes.
For the winners.
Yes.
For the winners.
Wait. I have one more line. I
Yes.
lost my paperwork. I'd love to stay and chat, but I can't. I'm having an old friend for dinner. So, did anyone get that one? Right on. Thank you, Ben. Great. I think we have to send out more than one class.
Yes. I have the winners here. A quick question. Nobody's perfect. Is that one of the answers? Yep. Okay.
Did they get that?
Yes, they got that, and even Silence of the Lambs. So I have the chat here, and the winners will get an email with the class. It's going to be the one who typed first will be the winner. Or are you going to give it to anyone who typed?
The ones who got, yes, anyone.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Thank you all for joining us, and good luck. Good luck with your films. And thank you, Nahid. You did a fabulous job for all of us.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone. There will be a recording. We will send it here in the next few days. Make sure we include all the links. And look out for our next webinar next month in August. As Carol mentioned, we will look at doing more with trailers as well as production. So check your emails, and we look forward to seeing you again in August. Thank you again, everybody.
Bye, Nahid.
Bye. Bye, everyone.